Capitalism's great, but Amanda is not a fan. If you have a big truck, you're going to have big diesel prices.
I know, it sounds really stupid, doesn't it?
Like GM, let's not cheap out. Alright, so if you guys have been on the channel, you know we bought this truck in April. It's been about 7 months, so I figured that was a good time for us to check in, let you know what we like, what we don't like, do it all again, and kind of where we're at now. So first of all, the outside and the way it looks and everything, I still love it just as much as I did when we first saw it. I love the AT4 trim package and everything. I think if you're gonna get a heavy duty truck, I want a big beefy looking truck. So I like the more like square body style with the giant grille and everything on the front. No issues and with the way it looks or durability of the outside. So I guess we'll start off, show you some things I like on the outside and maybe some things that I don't like so much. The first thing that I like that was actually a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought it was a little gimmicky when I looked at it, to be honest, but it's the multi-pro tailgate. It's just been really nice. I'm kind of short. So on the hill of the driveway, it's not that big a deal to get in and out of, but otherwise to get in and out of it, like when we're loading things up for Christmas or whatever the case may be, especially if I'm going to have to actually climb all the way in there, the multi-pro is really nice. So I haven't used like a ton of the functions, like I don't use it as a desk or anything like they show for like job sites, but being able to open it all the way and then hit the second piece and give myself a little bit of a step just to get up in there makes things a lot nicer and makes my life a lot easier. Like I said, we're on a hill here in the front of the driveway, but if I need to get back in there, it just makes life a little bit easier to get in and out. So far I haven't had to use the handle to pull myself up there, but Amanda says I have to keep it that long, so check in. If we do like a 10-year update, we'll see where we're at. Second thing I like from the exterior of the truck is that I bought this hard flip-up tonneau cover. It's actually the GM accessory version. This one is made by Rev Industries. It's the same company that makes the backflip if you're looking for other aftermarket ones. But I've had the vinyl ones on a previous truck, and the truck before that had the hard fiberglass painted one. This one is much better. It fits like a lot lower profile, which is really nice. And then it's a little more secure than the vinyl. Like nobody's going to be able to just come up and cut it open, which is nice, especially for us as we're traveling around with the camper or things like that, or if we have to PCS moving across country. Just one less thing to worry about. And plus I just really like the way it looks. Like I said, it's the Sierra 2500 HD. Like you remember, we got the Duramax, the 6.6 liter diesel engine. Had no issues so far. It's been fantastic. Towing the camper, our normal travel trailer, has been much easier. It's been a super enjoyable experience, almost like nothing's back there, so that's been absolutely awesome. We drove it down to my parents, our extended family's house in South Carolina for Christmas this year, and got about 24 miles to the gallon, so we were able to make it from here, 7.5 hour trip, all the way down on one tank of diesel. So that was pretty nice, so especially since it can be pretty expensive right now to fill up with diesel. But kind of the way I think about it is if the gas prices or the diesel prices is going to be what prevents you from buying this truck, then you couldn't afford the truck in the first place. So it's just one of those things you learn to live with. You have a big truck, you're going to have big diesel prices. That's just how it goes. But so far, no issues at all with the engine. It's been fantastic. I'll catch myself sometimes, especially on the way home from work, like turning off the radio just so I can listen to the engine, listen to the turbo spool or whatever. It's been kind of cool for a first-time diesel owner. It's been a pretty enjoyable experience so far. So we'll see how it goes. We'll move on to the inside, and that's where you may see some of the things that I dislike the most about the truck. Outside, pretty fantastic, does what it needs to do. Inside, in my opinion, some of the creature comforts and things like that, that's where GM missed the mark with this model. But we'll see on the inside. Alright, so we talked about the outside and the things I like about the outside, and now we'll move on to the inside. This is where we're going to find most of the things that I don't like about the truck. But truthfully, if you're buying a GM truck, these are all things that you're probably already aware of. It's been the knock on GM trucks for like probably the better part of a decade, is just that they don't seem to put a whole lot of thought into the like interior design of the truck and kind of the creature comforts. And that's where you've seen the like Ram or even Ford kind of start to excel and really like separate themselves in the truck market. So biggest gripes, there's a couple things like the infotainment area is relatively small considering like how large of an area it is. And then two, like all of the stuff on the inside, with the exception of like the dash and a little bit of the trim, almost everything else is just like the generic, really cheap feeling black plastic. Like all of the buttons are cheap black plastic. Even the stuff that's like the brushed satin finish just feels like a cheap, like almost sticker on top of it. But again, if you're buying a GM truck, you already know that that's what you're getting. I guess my complaint is just like these trucks are expensive enough that it'd be nice if there was a little more thought put into that. That made them like feel a little bit nicer compared to say like my buddy just bought a Ram 2500. There's a lot more like wood grain or these other finishes that don't just feel like plastic. Of course, the Rams have the big Tesla screen and all of that sort of stuff that is really nice. Granted, does that affect the driving of the truck at all? Absolutely not. The truck does everything that I needed to, and it does still have a lot of the creature comforts that are nice, like the heated seats, ventilated seats, all that sort of stuff. But one of the ways that kind of shows itself that kind of drives me nuts is that in the console here. So if you flip up the console, you see like I've got this tray in here, but this doesn't come with the truck. The truck as is just comes with this big hole in the back of it with a couple of hookups, right? And then you can buy a tray that looks almost exactly like this direct from GMC, but it costs you, it's like $65 or $75 or some craziness like that. It's like, all right, on a truck this expensive, you're selling like a premium heavy duty truck like GM, let's not cheap out, throw in the like plastic piece. This on Amazon was $20. I would assume that it probably cost GM like less than $5 to manufacture that part, and they're selling it for $65. Capitalism's great, but at some point let's give us a little bit more bang for our buck, right? And so my other gripe, again, is on the center console. So if you're familiar with GM or Chevy trucks, for the longest times, their center console has had this little cutout here as a place where you can stick like a notebook or your phone or whatever the case may be. But the driver has like wireless CarPlay, wireless charging up in the front of the center console area. But this piece is really just nothing. Like it's just an empty hole. To me, like this could easily have been another point where they could have put in a wireless charger for the passenger. That's something that would make it really nice on road trips for us, for Amanda, like when we're pulling the camper, or like when we went down for Christmas a few weeks ago. It'd be really nice. They have started to make some aftermarket parts that match really well. There were a few that you could throw in initially when these trucks first came out, but they just really looked terrible. They didn't look like they came stock. There's a few now that look stock, so I'll probably be doing that here in the near future so that Amanda has a place to charge her phone without having to have a wire or anything. but that's going to cost me an extra 120 bucks. But if you're interested in that, I'll throw the link to that part down in the bottom too. Should be a pretty easy install. All right, so as far as driving goes, it drives really well. I would say it's certainly like not as comfortable or as soft a ride as my 1500 or as Amanda's Acadia. That makes sense, right? It's a heavy duty truck, it's not going to be, but it does ride better than I expected it to ride when we purchased it. I think we said that like even when we test drove it, right? We thought that like, oh, it was kind of surprising. But we've taken it on several long trips, whether that's towing it to places around here or to West Virginia. Like I said, we drove it down to my family's in South Carolina for Christmas and had no issues riding in it for 7.5 hours. And we can get Amanda's opinion too and see what she thought. But 7.5 hours in the car for me, like, no issues at all. Wasn't uncomfortable by any means.
Well, now that we've heard all the negative,
Yeah,
what do you like about this?
So for the inside, it just, like, even though there's nothing fancy, or there aren't too many things that are fancy, the things that you expect it to do, it does well, right? There's cup holders, there's storage, the wireless charging, and wireless CarPlay. The wireless CarPlay is really nice. Amanda's Acadia has CarPlay, but it's the one that you have to plug in, and it's not like that's a huge inconvenience, but it is nice to just be able to jump in and have everything work without having to do any extra steps. So that part's nice. The other two things that I like, my Ram had it, and I'm glad that these have it, especially having to park in the driveway, is having the power folding mirrors. That just makes driving a bigger truck around, like whether that's at work or running errands or whatever, makes life a lot easier. And along with that, the power running boards are nice. So far in the winter, it's gotten like pretty cold here, and we've had zero issues at all. It makes it a little easier to get in and out of.
My favorite part is going to sound really shallow and stupid, but I just like the heated seats. Like, love the heated seats. I'm always cold. I like the heated seats. I like the heated steering wheel. I like how big it is, so I feel like lots of extra crunch room, as my dad would call it. But this truck is beautiful. I think it rides smooth for as large of a vehicle as it is, especially from the passenger side. I'm able to, film and edit and do whatever I need to do, and I don't feel like I'm just like bopping around all over the place. So it's my favorite part.
So the last couple of things that I really liked about the truck, they're technology related, but they're really helpful. And the first one, I have to give a shout out to my buddy Chris. He had one on one of his Cadillacs, and actually works at Jeff Schmidt if you're in the Dayton area. Good place to go to if you're looking for any kind of GM truck or vehicle. But anyway, he told me about these camera as a rear view mirror. Instead of it being your normal rear mirror, it is actually a camera. So it took me like a day or two to get used to it, but now I love it. It feels weird to like use a regular mirror anymore. You don't have to adjust it or anything. You can go in and you can change its like zoom level or brightness, so you can make it exactly how you want it. But it's super convenient. And then if you want to use the regular mirror, then you just flip it down and it functions like a normal mirror. But 100% of the time mine's in the electronic mirror. Amanda's still like hit or miss on whether she likes it or not, but I think it's nice. And if we have like the kids or other stuff stacked up in the back seats, then you still get a clear view. Yeah, so Amanda reminded me of two more things. So she likes the heated seat. From the driver, the heated steering wheel is nice. That's something I had on my Ram, and now I am very spoiled to it, especially in the winter. The only thing that I haven't been able to figure out, I don't know if it's just me or if the truck doesn't do it, my Ram and Amanda's truck, or Amanda's Acadia, when it's below like a certain temperature, with the Ram it was 40 degrees, that stuff would automatically come on and then it would kind of like taper off over time. The Acadia does it, like the heated seats will turn on, and then after the car heats up, they kind of sort of taper off. This truck does not do that. You have to turn them all on. It turns on when you remote start the car, but it doesn't stay on. But the heated seats are fantastic, but what I love even more is the ventilated seats in the summer. We disagree. Amanda is not a fan of the ventilated seats. She thinks it feels weird. I think it's awesome, like to the point that if it's over like 70 degrees outside, I've probably got the ventilated seats on. I think they feel fantastic. And then the other thing, kind of in the same kind of control panel area on the bottom, is the integrated brake controller. So I had an aftermarket brake controller on the Ram, and it was nice. It was a good brake controller, but it just wasn't as seamless as this. So having everything run like seamlessly with the integrated brake controller, and then the whole trailering package is really nice. So being able to set the truck up, you get all your measurements for your camper or trailer or whatever you're pulling, and then when you are towing, as you go to turn, it'll like gray out an area on the side of the road so you know where your trailer should be if you're changing lanes. That sort of stuff is nice. If you buy the additional camera, then you can have transparency mode where it lets you see like what is behind your camera. We haven't done that yet, and truthfully, even with the fifth wheel, we probably won't get the GM version. We'll probably just buy the Furrion cameras with the additional monitor, because that's what's integrated into the fifth wheel. But having the ability to do that is fantastic. So the last thing that I really like about the interior is the heads-up display. It was something that I really didn't care about when we bought the truck, but I've grown to really like it and become accustomed to looking at it, to the point that when I get in Amanda's Acadia, or if I'm driving any other car, it feels weird. Like I'm always looking at the lower part of my windshield to try to figure out how fast I'm going or what the speed limit is. It integrates pretty well with everything else too. So if you change the song through the steering wheel, it pops up on your heads-up display. If you use GMC's navigation, it'll give you turn by turn through the heads-up display. Truthfully, I just use CarPlay for that. It just updates a little bit better and a little bit faster, and it's one less thing to worry about. Try to give you an idea of what that looks like.
I do have video of that too, if that's helpful.
So you can see it flashing there a little bit, but you can, right now I just have it as the speed limit and how fast I'm going, but you can change it to be kind of like whatever you want. So show your lane departure, like whether you're in the center of the lane or not, or you can have it give you your cardinal directions. And then if you were doing any off-roading, especially since this is like the AT4 package, I don't know why you would take a heavy-duty truck off-roading, but if you were, it'll show you if your cant and tilt and all that sort of stuff, and whether you're in a four-wheel high, four-wheel low, or whatever, all in the heads-up display. So that has been super nice. And then finally, just all of the cameras in general. So two things. One, when you're driving, you can hit the rear view camera, and it'll show you the tailgate's down now. That's why it looks like you're just looking at the ground, and it'll actually show it for 8 seconds. So that's kind of nice if you just want to check on something. But having all the different camera views is really nice. I know we have just a normal 2-car garage with a 2-car driveway, and so I use a lot when I'm parking the truck to make sure I'm over far enough that Amanda could get in. I'll use these side views that'll just give me an idea of like where I'm at on the driveway, just to make sure I'm as far over as I can and I'm still on the driveway, so that Amanda can get her car in and have enough room. And then of course for trailering, being able to look down on the hitch itself is really, really nice. So to answer the big question, if we had it to do all over again, would we buy this same truck or would we get something else? And I think that's a pretty easy answer for us. We would stick with this truck. So full disclosure, at the time that we bought this truck, we were looking around at other trucks, and it wasn't like we had our heart set on this specific one. It just happened to be what was available with COVID and supply chain issues and all of that sort of stuff. but it checked all the boxes. It had everything we wanted and then some in terms of a truck. In hindsight, looking back over the last 7 months or so, there's nothing that I would do different. I love the truck, and it's kind of the whole package for me. I think it looks the best of the models that are available right now. I like the AT4 package. Are there small things that I wish were different? Sure. If I could like design a truck from the ground up, I would change some things like we talked about on the inside. But it does everything that we need. It hauls like a champ. It's comfortable for the 4 of us for extended periods of time. It's a good daily driver for me. It's not overly large, and it gets okay mileage. I'm not constantly filling it up with diesel or anything. So no complaints for me. I would absolutely recommend this truck to anybody else that was looking. No issues. The Duramax has run great. Like I said, put about 5,000 miles on it so far, so it's not like I've been shy with it. What about you, babe?
It's been great. I think it is probably one of our smarter family purchases. I think we're going to be able to do a lot more because we have a larger vehicle now to tow, and we're going to be able to do more family adventures. It's really neat to see what our initial video has turned into. It's been great to hear from all of you. So if there are any other questions you have about this truck that we didn't answer, or if there's anything else specific that you all might want to see, let us know in the comments below. It's been really cool to be able to interact with everybody and get your feedback on this truck and our purchase. And it was just meant to be a snapshot in the day of the life. So,
yeah. And if our fifth wheel ever gets into production and we get it delivered, we can show you what that looks like too. But
that's a different story.
We'll see.
Different story.
Check out for that one on a future video.
Till then,
I said bye.